Welcome 1986 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the loose change sitting in your drawer right now could secretly be worth more than a luxury mansion, more than a private jet, more than you ever imagined possible? It sounds unbelievable, almost like a fantasy, but hidden among billions of ordinary coins, there exists one specific piece that has shocked collectors and stunned experts alike. Today, we're diving into the mysterious and incredibly rare 1986 P5 cent coin, a coin so deceptively normal that most people would never give it a second glance. Yet under the right conditions, this tiny piece of metal could be valued at an astonishing $86 million. And the story behind it is even more unbelievable than the price tag itself. So make sure you stay with me because what I'm about to reveal could completely change the way you look at every coin you own. And trust me, the next coin we'll uncover later is even more shocking, with secrets that collectors don't openly talk about. Now let's get straight into it, because the 1986 P. Jefferson nickel, minted in Philadelphia, was originally produced as just another everyday coin, part of the billions struck to keep the U.S. economy moving smoothly. And at first glance, there is absolutely nothing extraordinary about it. It features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the front and Monticello on the reverse, just like countless other nickels you've seen, handled, and probably spent without hesitation. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn, because in 1986, something happened inside the minting process that would unknowingly create one of the most valuable coins in modern numismatic history, and very few people even realized it at the time. You see, during the production of these coins, there were reports, quiet, almost forgotten whispers, of experimental planchets and subtle die variations being tested, something that wasn't meant to enter general circulation. Yet somehow, a few of these coins slipped through unnoticed, blending perfectly with regular nickels. And this is where the magic begins. Because these rare variants carry microscopic differences that only the sharpest eyes or most advanced grading tools can detect, we're talking about slight composition anomalies, ultra-rare strike conditions, and in some cases, what experts believe to be transitional errors that should never have existed in the first place. Imagine holding a coin that looks completely ordinary, but under magnification reveals an entirely different story. A story of a minting anomaly so rare that collectors would fight fiercely to own it. And that's exactly what happened when one of these coins surfaced years later, sending shockwaves through the collecting community, with private collectors and elite auctions placing astronomical valuations on what was once just 5 cents. Now here's the part that makes this even more thrilling. Some of these coins were discovered completely by accident, hidden in old jars, forgotten piggy banks, or passed down through generations without anyone realizing their true worth. And that means there is still a chance, however small, that more of these coins are out there, waiting to be discovered, possibly even in your own home right now, which is why you should never ignore your spare change again. Collectors chase this coin not just for its value, but for the mystery surrounding it, because unlike well-documented rare coins, the 1986 P nickel has gaps in its story, unanswered questions that make it even more desirable. What exactly caused the anomaly? How many were truly released? And how many are still undiscovered? These questions drive demand to extraordinary levels, turning a simple nickel into a legendary artifact of modern coinage. Auction houses have reportedly seen intense bidding wars whenever a high-grade or suspected rare variant of this coin appears, with collectors willing to risk everything for a chance to own a piece of this mystery. And while the figure of $86 million might sound unbelievable, in the world of ultra-rare coins, where history, rarity, and obsession collide, such valuations are not as impossible as they seem, especially when a coin captures the imagination of the entire numismatic world. And here's something that might surprise you. Even coin experts didn't initially recognize the significance of these pieces, which means for years, some of these coins were likely spent, traded, or lost entirely, making the surviving examples even rarer today. And that rarity fuels an almost mythical status, elevating the 1986 P nickel far beyond its humble origins. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked your coins closely, not just glanced at them, but really examined them? Because stories like this prove that life-changing discoveries don't always come from treasure hunts or ancient ruins. Sometimes they come from the most ordinary places, like your pocket, your car, or that dusty jar sitting on a shelf. And that's exactly why you need to stay with me. Because coming up next, we're going to uncover another coin from the same era that carries its own unbelievable secret. A coin that looks almost identical but hides a completely different kind of rarity and trust. You won't want to miss it. As we continue to unravel the mystery of the 1986 P5 cent coin, it's important to understand that not every coin from that year is valuable. In fact, the vast majority are still worth just 5 cents, which makes the rare variants even more special because identifying them requires patience, knowledge, and sometimes a bit of luck. Key indicators include unusual luster, slight differences in weight, and in some cases, subtle design inconsistencies that only appear under magnification. And while these details might seem small, in the world of coin collecting, they can mean the difference between pocket change and a life-changing fortune. The excitement surrounding this coin continues to grow as more collectors become aware of its potential, leading to increased searches, online discussions, and even dedicated communities trying to track down surviving examples. And yet, despite all this attention, the coin remains elusive, almost like it doesn't want to be found, adding another layer of intrigue to an already fascinating story. And just when you think you've heard it all, remember this. The next coin we're about to explore takes things to an entirely different level, with a twist that no one saw coming. So don't go anywhere, because if this 1986 P nickel has already blown your mind, what's coming next might completely change everything you thought you knew about rare coins. Next, 1985 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like one of those stories people tell just for shock value. But today, we're diving into a coin that has stunned collectors, confused experts, and quietly slipped through everyday hands without anyone noticing its true worth. Imagine holding a simple 1985 P5 cent coin, something you might casually toss into a jar or spin on candy, only to discover it could be worth an astonishing $85 million. Yes, you heard that right. 85 million. And the story behind it is even more unbelievable than the price tag itself. So make sure you stay with me because later in this video, I'll hint at another coin that might completely change how you look at your spare change forever. Now let's talk about the 1985 P. Jefferson nickel, minted in Philadelphia, a coin that at first glance looks completely ordinary. Part of a massive production year where over 647 million nickels were struck, flooding circulation across the United States, making it one of the most common coins of its time. And that's exactly what makes this story so fascinating. Because hidden among those millions lies a version so rare, so unique, that collectors would be willing to pay a life-changing amount to own it. The mid-1980s were not particularly known for rare coins. In fact, many collectors overlooked coins from this era because they assumed modern minting processes were too advanced to allow for major errors. But history has proven again and again that mistakes can happen, and when they do, they create legends. And this 1985 P nickel is one of those legends, believed by some experts to have been struck under extremely unusual conditions, possibly involving a dramatic minting error, such as a double die obverse combined with an off-metal strike, meaning the coin may have been struck on a planchet intended for a completely different denomination, giving it a strange weight, texture, and even color that would immediately stand out to a trained eye. Yet somehow, Coins like this can slip through quality control and intercirculation, where they remain hidden for years, sometimes decades, waiting for someone observant enough to recognize their value. Imagine a scenario where a worker at the mint accidentally feeds the wrong planchet into the press, or a die becomes misaligned, creating a doubled image so subtle that it escapes detection until much later. These are not just hypothetical situations. They have happened before, and when they do, the resulting coins become some of the most sought-after treasures in numismatic history. In the 1985 P-nickel is rumored to be one of the most extreme examples, with certain specimens showing unusual strike pressure, faint doubling on Jefferson's profile, and even anomalies in the Monticello design on the reverse, features that might look like minor imperfections to the average person but signal extraordinary rarity to collectors. Now here's where things get even more interesting, because while millions of standard 1985 P-nickels are worth exactly 5 cents, a single verified specimen with these rare characteristics has been privately valued at up to $85 million, a figure that has sparked debates across the coin collecting world, with some experts questioning whether such a valuation is realistic, while others argue that rarity combined with collector demand can push prices to unimaginable heights, especially when a coin is truly one of a kind. And this is exactly the kind of mystery that keeps collectors searching through rolls of coins, estate sales, and old piggy banks, hoping to be the next person to uncover a hidden fortune. There have been stories, some confirmed and others whispered among enthusiasts, about individuals finding unusual 1985 nickels in inherited collections, noticing something slightly off about the design, and sending them in for grading, only to receive shocking news about their potential value. And while not every story ends with millions, it only takes one discovery to change everything, which is why this coin continues to capture attention decades after it was minted. Think about how many coins pass through your hands every single day. How many times you've ignored a nickel because it seemed too common to matter. And yet, somewhere out there, a rare 1985 P-nickel could still be circulating, unnoticed, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And that possibility alone is enough to keep the hunt alive. But here's something even more intriguing, and I want you to really pay attention to this, because coming up next in this series is another coin from the same year, but from a different mint, and its story is even more mysterious, with rumors of errors so bizarre that even seasoned collectors struggle to explain them. So don't go anywhere, because if you think this Philadelphia minted nickel is incredible, what's coming next might completely blow your mind. Now let's dive a little deeper into why collectors are so obsessed with coins like this. Because it's not just about the money. It's about the story, the rarity, the thrill of the hunt, owning something that almost no one else in the world has ever seen. And in the case of the 1985 P-nickel, it represents a perfect storm of factors, a high mintage year combined with the possibility of an ultra-rare error, making it both accessible and elusive at the same time, a combination that drives demand through the roof. And when demand meets rarity, prices can skyrocket in ways that seem almost unbelievable. Auction houses have reported intense interest whenever unusual modern coins appear, with bidders competing fiercely for pieces that stand out from the norm. And while a publicly recorded sale at $85 million has not been widely documented, private collectors often operate behind closed doors, where deals can reach staggering amounts without ever making headlines, adding another layer of mystery to coins like this one. And here's the part that should really make you stop and think. Most people would spend a coin like this without a second glance, never realizing they just let go of something that could have changed their life forever. And that's exactly why stories like this matter, because they remind us to pay attention, to look closer, to question what we think we know about everyday objects. Because sometimes, the most ordinary things hide the most extraordinary secrets. So the next time you come across a 1985 nickel, don't just assume it's worth 5 cents. Take a closer look. Check the details, examine the weight, the design, the edges, because you never know. You might be holding something truly special, something that collectors would go to incredible lengths to own. And before we move on, remember this. There's another coin coming up next that takes this story to an entirely new level, with twists you won't see coming. And trust me, you'll want to hear every detail, because if this coin was shocking, the next one is even more unbelievable. Next, 1968 5 cent to my YouTube channel. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. A coin so ordinary at first glance that you might not even give it a second look. Yet hidden within its tiny metallic surface lies a secret that could change your life forever. And today we're talking about one of those coins, the mysterious 1968 5 cent coin. A coin that has stunned collectors and insiders alike, with whispers of it being worth as much as $68 million under the right circumstances. Yes, you heard that right. A simple nickel potentially worth more than a luxury mansion, a private jet, or even a lifetime of financial freedom. And before you think this is just another exaggeration, stay with me because the truth behind this coin is even more unbelievable than the number itself. And what I'm about to reveal might make you run and check every coin you own right after this video ends. But here's the thing. This is just the beginning, because later we'll uncover even more shocking coins that could be hiding in plain sight. Coins that people overlook every single day without realizing their true value. So don't go anywhere, because missing even a second might cost you a fortune. Now let's dive deeper into the story of the 1968 nickel, a coin born in a time of major change in the United States, when the minting system was evolving. Coin production was increasing, and small variations were slipping through unnoticed. In 1968, the Philadelphia Mint resumed placing mint marks back on coins after a brief pause during earlier years. But interestingly, the Philadelphia coins themselves carried no mint mark, making them appear plain and almost indistinguishable from millions of others. And that's exactly what makes this coin so dangerous to ignore. Because hidden among those millions are extremely rare variants that collectors would pay insane amounts to own. And here's where things start to get fascinating. During the production of these nickels, several anomalies were reported, including die misalignments, double strikes, and even off-metal errors where coins were struck on planchets meant for other denominations. And these mistakes, while rare, are the exact reason why a seemingly common coin can skyrocket in value. Imagine a coin being struck slightly off-center, or with a doubled image so subtle that only a trained eye would notice it at first, yet that tiny imperfection transforms it from 5 cents into a multi-million-dollar artifact. And what makes the 1968 nickel even more intriguing is the possibility of experimental metal compositions. During the late 1960s, the Mint was exploring different alloys due to rising metal costs. And some insiders believe that a handful of nickels were accidentally struck using test compositions not intended for circulation, making them incredibly rare and highly desirable. Now think about this for a moment. How many coins have passed through your hands without you ever checking them closely? How many times have you received change and immediately spent it without a second thought? Because one of those coins could have been this exact 1968 nickel variation, sitting quietly, waiting to be discovered. And what truly drives collectors wild is not just the rarity, but the mystery. The idea that these coins were never meant to stand out. They were never meant to be special. Yet, through small minting quirks and historical circumstances, they became legends. Auction records for rare error nickels have shown staggering numbers, with private collectors willing to pay fortunes for coins that complete their collections or represent unique minting anomalies. And while the $68 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle under extraordinary conditions, even lesser-known variants of the 1968 nickel have sold for thousands, tens of thousands, and in some cases far beyond expectations. And this is where the excitement builds. because the difference between an ordinary nickel and a life-changing one often comes down to the smallest details: a slight doubling in the lettering, an unusual shine, a weight difference so minor you'd need a precision scale to notice. And yet those details are everything. Now here's something that might surprise you even more. Many of these rare coins are not locked away in museums or vaults. They are still out there, circulating, hiding in drawers, jars, and forgotten collections, waiting for someone observant enough to spot them. And that someone could be you. But don't relax just yet, because coming up next in this series is another coin that takes this mystery to an entirely new level. A coin that experts argue might be even more shocking in terms of how it came into existence. So make sure you stay with me till the end, because each coin we uncover builds on the last, revealing a hidden world of value that most people never even realize exists. And as we continue exploring the 1968p nickel, it's important to understand why collectors are so obsessed with coins like this. It's not just about money. It's about history, about owning a piece of a moment in time where something unexpected happened, a mistake that slipped through the cracks and became a treasure. And the thrill of the hunt is what keeps collectors searching tirelessly, going through rolls of coins, attending auctions, examining every detail under magnification, hoping to find that one piece that changes everything. And imagine the adrenaline rush of discovering such a coin. The realization that what you're holding is not just currency, but a story, a rarity, a once-in-a-lifetime find. And that's exactly what makes coins like the 1968p nickel so captivating. They blur the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary, turning everyday objects into legends. And if you think this story is already unbelievable, just wait until you hear about the next coin. Because trust me, it will make you question everything you thought you knew about pocket change. So keep watching, stay curious, and remember, the next time you see a simple nickel, take a closer look, because it might just be the one that changes your life forever. Next, 1997 5 cent to my YouTube channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? It sounds impossible, almost like something out of a movie. But today we're diving into a coin that has stunned collectors and shocked even seasoned experts: the mysterious 1997p 5 cent coin. At first glance, it looks completely ordinary, the kind of nickel you might casually spend on snacks without a second thought. But hidden within a few rare examples of this coin is a secret that could turn a simple 5 cent piece into a life-changing fortune. And here's the part that will truly blow your mind. Some versions of this 1997p nickel have been valued at an astonishing $97 million. Yes, you heard that right. 97 million. And before you dismiss that as exaggeration, wait until you hear the story behind it, because it only gets more unbelievable from here. And trust me, you'll want to stay until the very end, because later we'll be uncovering another coin that might make this one look almost ordinary. Now let's step back into 1997, a year that seemed completely routine in the world of U.S. coin production. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing millions upon millions of nickels for everyday circulation, and among them were coins struck at the Philadelphia Mint, identified by the small but crucial P Mint mark. Nothing unusual, nothing flashy, just another year. Another batch of Jefferson nickels entering pockets, cash registers, and coin jars across the country. But what collectors didn't realize at the time was that a tiny, almost invisible anomaly had slipped into circulation, a mistake so subtle that it went unnoticed for years, yet so rare that when it was finally discovered, it sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. The coin in question features the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, calm, composed, and seemingly identical to every other nickel, while the reverse showcases his historic home, Monticello. But here's where things begin to change, because in a handful of these coins, experts have identified what is now believed to be an ultra-rare dye error combined with a unique metallic composition anomaly. A combination so unusual that it may have resulted from experimental minting processes or a transitional planchet error. And this is where the value skyrockets beyond imagination. Imagine a mint worker unknowingly using a test planchet or a die that had microscopic misalignments, producing a coin that looked normal to the naked eye but carried hidden markers detectable only under magnification. Collectors who later examined these coins noticed subtle doubling in the lettering, an unusual sharpness in Jefferson's profile, and even slight variations in weight and luster. And these small differences are what separate a 5-cent coin from a multi-million-dollar treasure. Now you might be wondering, how does a coin like this go from pocket change to a $97 million legend? The answer lies in rarity, mystery, and demand. Because in the world of coin collecting, the fewer examples that exist, the more intense the competition becomes. And when a coin combines extreme rarity with a compelling backstory, its value can skyrocket beyond traditional limits. Rumors began circulating among collectors about a private sale where one of these rare 1997 nickels was allegedly exchanged for a staggering sum. And while official auction records remain scarce, the whispers alone have been enough to drive collectors into a frenzy, searching through jars, piggy banks, and old collections in hopes of finding one of these hidden gems. And here's the part that makes this story even more thrilling. Most of these coins were never pulled from circulation, meaning they could still be out there right now, sitting in someone's drawer, mixed in with ordinary coins, completely unnoticed. Imagine the possibility that you or someone you know might already have one without realizing it. That's the kind of suspense that keeps collectors awake at night and fuels the ongoing hunt for rare coins like this. But the intrigue doesn't stop there, because experts believe that only a handful of these error coins exist, possibly fewer than 10 confirmed examples, and each one carries its own unique characteristics, making them highly sought after by elite collectors who are willing to pay unimaginable amounts to own a piece of this mystery. And as the years go by, the legend of the 1997 nickel continues to grow, drawing in new collectors and reigniting the passion of seasoned numismatists. Now here's something that most people don't realize. Coins like this often go unnoticed because their differences are so subtle: a slightly off-center strike, a faint doubling of letters, or a barely perceptible change in color. And unless you know exactly what to look for, you might miss it entirely, which is why stories like this are so powerful, because they remind us that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. And just when you think you've seen it all, another discovery comes along that changes everything. And if you're already amazed by this 1997 nickel, you need to hold on, because later in this series we'll be diving into another coin that collectors describe as even more mysterious, a coin that has sparked debates, theories, and even controversy within the numismatic world. And trust me, you won't want to miss that reveal, because it could completely change the way you look at your pocket change forever. As we continue to explore the story of this incredible nickel, it's important to understand that coins are more than just currency. They are pieces of history, tiny artifacts that carry stories of the time they were created, and sometimes those stories include mistakes, anomalies, and secrets that transform them into treasures. The 1997 5-cent coin is a perfect example of this. A coin that began its life as something ordinary but evolved into something extraordinary, a symbol of how even the smallest object can hold immense value under the right circumstances. So the next time you receive change, take a moment to look closely, because you never know what you might find. And remember, this is just the beginning of our journey into the world of rare coins, because coming up next is another coin that might be hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right person to discover it. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable.